Apparently, there are growing calls for Princess Kate, Prince William, and King Charles' royal titles, and I'm assuming Queen Camilla's as well, but of course, who knows, to lose their royal titles. And I would imagine Andrew and his daughters as well. It says here the chief executive of the anti monarchy group Republic spoke on GB News' Royal podcast. His name is Graham Smith, and he advocates for a quote elected head of state instead of a constitutional monarchy. And he said that an independent head of state would mean the royals would lose their royal titles. Wow. I heard whispers about that last week actually. But I didn't really pick up on it. Princess Kate, Prince William, and King Charles should have their royal titles removed, according to Graham Smith. But why not Camilla, Andrew, and Beatrice, and all these other people? The head of the anti monarchy group discussed the process of removing the titles if there was an elected head of state during the second episode of the Royal Podcast. Smith advocates for a democratic from top to bottom and parliamentary system with an elected head of state instead of a constitutional monarchy. Hmm. Republic is about being equal citizens, says Graham Smith. Wow. Wow. I don't know how popular this guy is. I've heard of him, but I don't really know if people are taking him seriously or not. Maybe you know if you are from the UK. What's the story with this guy? And it says here it's about finishing that long process of evolution that we've gone through since the 17th century, where we had to fight tooth and nail against the monarch and against the land earning classes to get democracy. And we've sort of stalled. And a republic is about finishing that job so we are genuine citizens, not subjects. I can't say that I disagree with this guy. I mean, that's just my opinion, obviously, but this idea of people being subjects to a king and genuflecting or curtsying and your royal highness, and it's just, I mean, I'm just like aghast that in 2024, there are a lot of things that I'm aghast at in 2024. This is one of them, honestly, that people still you know, call themselves commoners with such pride compared to other humans who go to the bathroom just like they do. It's very strange to me, but I thought it was just me. So it's interesting to hear that this man feels this way about it. Um, he says, in a republic like that, then obviously you can't have aristocratic titles and royal titles. Wow. So Charles will be Charles Windsor and he will be a citizen like anyone else. He'll pay taxes like anyone else and he will be free to stand for election or not, or just go off and live a nice life of luxury. He still be very rich, but he will be free of the obligations of royalty, free of the titles of royalty, and he'll have an obligation to pay tax. Hmm. Wow, it says here if the royals were to lose their titles, they would no longer be addressed as his or her. Wow. Normally, only can pay tax. It says on the royals, the king pays tax. Oh, does he? I had no idea. The queen volunteered to pay income tax and capital gains tax. Oh, wow. At the highest rate of his income. Well, look, what do I think about this? I think that, one of the consequences of this call to remove Harry and Meghan's titles, I think, is that it exposes or has exposed the sort of house of cards or sort of, this sort of illusion, this make believe aspect of this whole setup. This whole thing called monarchy is really, it's dress up. People dress. It's dress up. I mean, it's people playing house. It's people playing dress up. It's entertainment. I mean, the ease with which you can go from the Duke of Cambridge to the Prince of Wales as if the Duke of Cambridge never even happened. Or you can go from the Duchess of Cornwall to Queen Consort. And, you can have all these additional titles. I mean, my God. I mean, William, even Harry and Meghan have about three different titles. I mean, they have the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. You have two other titles. They've got two other titles, I believe, Countess, Earl, all kinds of different things. I mean, the ease with which you can just accumulate these titles. Kate and William have so many titles and honors, and every day that can just change. When William takes the throne, he can literally just change his name to something we've never even heard of. King Xavier the First of frickin' I don't even know of Balmoral. Whatever, right? He can change his Queen Elizabeth had the option to change her name to anything at all. You just change your name willy-nilly like this. I mean, it lacks credibility, right? So now they don't even have a last name. They've gone to the point where they don't even have a last name, right? They were supposed to be the House of Windsor. Then they became the House of Mountbatten Windsor. Now you're telling me that, Charles is Charles Windsor, but somehow his son Harry is Harry Sussex and his son William is William Wales. And it's like, and before Windsor, they were this German name, um, whatever the heck. I mean, I can't even remember at this point, but Saxe Coburg or something crazy. I mean, it's like the way they can just switch names and switch titles and just add medals and make themselves head of the army when they have never fought, and put all these medals on themselves. And you know it's like the more they do that, I think, is the less credible it becomes. And then when they start talking about just taking the titles away, you give them easily, you take them easily, you see the flimsiness of the whole thing. You see that it just lacks substance. It lacks credibility. It just isn't real, right? And I think that that's one of the byproducts of this call to take Harry and Meghan's title, is that it makes everyone realize that these titles don't mean a thing, right? So you start with Harry and Meghan, and that's great. Let's just take those. But then you put yourself under the microscope, you put yourself in the glare of the spotlight because everyone is watching, and not everyone likes you, right? Not everyone hates Harry and Meghan, right? So then you have that sector of the population begin to call for your titles to be taken. And before you know it, this kind of stuff can just snowball and become a whole thing. I mean, you know, it seems to me, right? It seems to me. And that is what I think the royal family underestimated, because when Harry visited the UK for the Invictus Games service, it should have come as a wake up call to them that not everybody hates Harry and Meghan. Not everybody hates Harry and Meghan. And I think that they treated Harry and Meghan the way they did, largely in part because they believed that that's what the people wanted. They believed that the people are just as racist, frankly, misogynistic, xenophobic, hateful towards outsiders as they are, some of them, right? They think that the people all think that Meghan, because of her ethnicity, etc., would bring down the monarchy the way they think it is, because they are in the middle of it and they're panicked. They know how fragile everything is. It's a house of cards. They don't want to rock the boat. So you bring somebody on the boat who, she's an outsider. She doesn't fit their norm. She's off brand, if you will. So they're panicked because they think, oh my God, the people are going to revolt. We have to get rid of her. Then the press is going crazy, saying all these things about her. So they decide, help the press, let's get her out as quickly as possible so that we can get back to normal. But they underestimated that it wasn't everybody who felt that way. There were some people and are some people in the UK who are more modern and who are more open minded and who are more fair, right? And they don't want to be, xenophobic or racist or any of those things. I mean, they wanted to give Megan a chance. Some people, right? And those people have listened and watched, and they see they're not stupid. They know that, yes, Harry and Meghan probably didn't do everything right. But after all, who does? Nobody. We're all imperfect. And that the punishment did not fit the crime. The everlasting hatred, having these media pit bulls, you know, following them across the Atlantic Ocean to continue to harass them, even if they make some jam. People are watching and they see this, and, you know, in their hearts, when they're in their private moments, they know that what this is all about, right? And so then, with this call to get rid of your or to take back the titles from Harry and Meghan, what you're going to have, or what you have started, is to open up people's eyes, because this isn't the 17th century anymore. you know Now we have cars and we have airplanes and we have newspapers, and God forbid we have social media. That must have been the worst thing to happen to the monarchy ever, is social media. So, people are now fact checking the monarchy, they're fact checking the government, they're fact checking authority. It's like they're able to question everything and give their opinions, and basically have things trending to put pressure on those in a position of power. And this changes everything for these kind of make believe, you know, things like a monarchy where, for 1,000 years and for another 1,000 more, you just happen to be born to a certain parentage, and, you are your Royal Highness and everybody else is a commoner or your subject, based on just that. You don't have to qualify, you don't have to study anything specific. You're not voted into this position. It's just you're in this position, and then once you're in it, you are doing all kinds of things to exclude certain types of people, right? And to withhold all these different privileges for yourself. And people are just increasingly, I think, not here for it. They're just not here for it. So this idea of taking away the titles from the rest of the royal family and just becoming, um, a republic, or having a head of state who is elected, where everybody is equal and no one has aristocratic titles and royal titles. I mean, they opened this can of worms by refusing to, treat Meghan as an equal, by treating Meghan worse than a commoner, just because, okay, the commoners are British, right? Meghan wasn't even a commoner in their eyes. She's an outsider with the wrong DNA composition, you see. So it was just like, you know, from the get go, out of the starting block, I mean, it was just highly problematic. But they bit off their noses to spite their faces with this. And now people are calling for them to lose their titles. And God forbid, what with Kate being missing, if she continues to be missing, if something is amiss with that, you're really looking at some serious changes, I think, in very short order. And they have only themselves to blame.